Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for May 15th, 2018. It is 6 p.m. We are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance by proxy. Please stand. This meeting is being recorded and televised. I want to thank everyone for coming on such a stormy evening. We have a few things on the agenda, but it appears most of you are here about the public safety complex announcement. So rather than having you sit and wait through all the rest of this, I'm going to change the agenda. Mr. James Labrie wanted the podium. Mr. Labrie, it is yours.
Good evening. Those of you who don't know me, my name is James Labrie, 66 Gun Road. I would like to take a few minutes tonight to speak as a civic-minded citizen in support of public safety. This is a topic I have been wanting to discuss for quite some time. To clear up some misconceptions involving land for the public safety complex. I apologize, I'm having a really hard time reading this. I have a bubble in my eye from surgery.
Do you want some? Okay.
Could you read it for me?
I'd like to share some of my, Kathy Labrie, Gun Road.
Can you uncover the microphone?
How's that? I'd like to share some of my history with Southampton. I was raised on a 265-acre farm on Valley Road. My dad was a dairy farmer. My grandfather bought the farm in 1949. One night in 1961, our dairy barn caught fire. My dad fought alongside our volunteer fire department, but tragically the barn burnt to the ground, a total devastating loss. Out of this tragedy, my dad was asked to join the fire department. He was instantly dedicated to the department. As a child, I began accompanying my father on fire department calls. By 1972, my dad became a lieutenant, and in 1975, he became fire chief. The town's population was 2,656. My older brothers had joined the department, and when I was 18, I joined the department too. My mother became one of the fire phone dispatchers. I grew up surrounded by dairy farming, agriculture, and the fire department. Perhaps I would have chosen farming as a career if my dad and his brother had the need and finances to support an additional partner. I attended Smith Vocational High School, and upon graduation, I started Janey Precision Tool with my brother Eugene. Being self-employed in Southampton gave Eugene and I the opportunity to continue on the fire department as firefighters and EMTs. My brother and I both continue to enjoy farming and livestock in our spare time. Through the years, I participated in the Jaws Cause, a fundraiser to get Southampton a Jaws of Life extraction tool. I was active in speccing out a new ambulance. I became an EMT intermediate, which allowed EMTs to perform IVs and airways. I left the department only because my growing business and young family required my time. I have always supported our police and fire departments. I was on the Fire Chief Selection Committee. I believe in community service. I was elected to the Planning Board in 2010 and the Select Board in 2016. As you have been told, our police department and fire department buildings are historically old and in a state of dangerous disrepair. I am not being dramatic. Look into OSHA requirements, look into health codes. Go take a look for yourselves. I was appointed to the Public Safety Need Committee in March of 2011. That was 7 years ago, when the town took action to plan for a public safety complex. The bottom line was that we couldn't come up with the money for a location, site, and construction. Most of my family, friends, and neighbors have needed the emergency services of our safety officials. As of 2017, our town population was 6,272, with 720 residents over the age of 70. These services are vital to the safety and lives in our community. The present police and fire departments are historical, and although that may qualify them for some community preservation money, the land size, lot loading, soil and ledge rock samples have shown that developing a safety complex to suit our present and future needs will be difficult and expensive at these locations. Realizing this, the Select Board discussed potential sites for a new public safety complex at the May 30th, 2017 meeting, and sent letters to 9 property owners on June 12th, stating, quote, "The town of Southampton is exploring the possibility of creating a public safety complex. We would like to inquire if you would consider either donation or selling to the town the land referenced above." On June 24th, the Select Board met with Secretary Ash, who took a tour of the police station. A new public safety complex was discussed. Our meeting minutes stated that, given the town's poor track record for overriding Proposition 2.5, the existing buildings may need to be updated instead. On July 11th, the Select Board had a joint meeting on the public safety complex. Meeting minutes state, a month and a half ago, there was an approach to property owners to see if there was anyone that wanted to sell land. No one seemed engaged in that discussion. The minutes go on to discuss once again the possibility of rebuilding police and fire departments at their present locations and costs associated. In late August, the Select Board discussed the Wayne property on College Highway during executive session. Charlie Konicki had received a response from the letter we sent back in June. The owners mentioned that they will not subdivide the property, and they wanted no less than $1 million. They also wanted the town to provide and pay for 3 appraisals. Mr. Konicki felt that there was no point. John Martin commented that we don't need 50 acres and we don't have $1 million. I offered to look further into the details. This land was divided into 3 parcels, and one of them was 3 acres. Unfortunately, this 3-acre piece was landlocked and set far back on the property with no frontage. I also could not see a way forward, since the appraisals would cost approximately $3,500 each. There was no source for the $1 million, and the owners did not want to subdivide. Again, our discussions and reasons for sending a letter to landowners was to locate about 3 acres for the safety complex and maybe even a donation. At the September 28th Select Board meeting, with no land becoming available, Charlie Konicki discussed a shift toward renovations of the current buildings. Mr. Martin feels this plan will be less expensive. Several people in the audience appealed to the board to move forward with a new safety complex. Discussion continued about the costs of building a new complex versus the expense of renovating 2 separate old buildings. In late November 2017, the Wayne property on College Highway was put on the market, listed with Cannon Real Estate. My brother Eugene and I discussed that if we purchased this property, we could donate approximately 3 acres to the town for the building site of the public safety complex. Eugene put in his offer and it was accepted. Eugene then contacted Charlie Konicki and told him that he had a purchase and sales agreement on the property and would like to donate a portion to the town. The town could get a perfect location for the safety complex as a donation. Mr. Konicki was happy, and he shared this possibility at the next Select Board meeting. Minutes from the November 28 meeting state that, quote, "In an effort to be as transparent as possible, Chair Konicki reported that someone is looking at purchasing the entire 50 acres available on College Highway and is willing to negotiate with the town for 3.5 acres as a possible location for a public safety building on Route 10. Don Warren, chair of the Public Safety Complex Committee, was excited about this possibility and encouraged the town to move forward. Because the closing had not yet occurred on this property, Eugene Labrie did not publicly share his name or donation at this time. There were no formal negotiations taking place with the town. In hindsight, it would have caused much less speculation and misinformation circulating if we had waited and hadn't shared this information with Mr. Konicki and the public that evening. A few weeks after Eugene Labrie had signed a purchase and sale agreement for this property, Charlie Konicki got a letter from an attorney informing him that there was a $1.2 million donation from an anonymous donor to purchase the entire property for the purpose of town use. From this time forward, I personally stepped aside from all select board meetings, discussions, and executive session meetings involving this parcel of land. Chair Konicki notified Eugene Labrie that the town had a serious interest in buying the entire property from a full donation. My brother told Mr. Konicki to talk to town council as to where to go from here. Mr. Konicki talked with town council, who set up an escrow account in the town's name so that the donor could deposit the donation. If this was indeed going to happen, Eugene Labrie said that he would step aside and assign his rights of the purchase and sale agreement to the town so that they could purchase this property with the donated funds. The donation never showed up. There was no money deposited into the escrow account. There were no further communications with the anonymous donor's attorney or the donor. This anonymous deal fell through. Meanwhile, rumors circulated in town about anonymous donors, ethics, and negotiations that did not exist. Now that executive session meetings have been released, this topic can be discussed. I did not have any access to executive minutes until they had been made public because I recused myself from all discussion and meetings involving this property. It's sad and ironic because my first and only intention was to help build a public safety complex, something I have felt strongly about for years. With no donor coming forward, Eugene Labrie continued with the purchase of this property. My brother closed on the property in February. And here we are tonight, explaining the circumstances to anyone who may want the truth. In keeping with our desire to see a much-needed public safety complex become a reality in Southampton, we would like to publicly announce at this time that we would like to donate the plus or minus 3 acres needed as a site for the construction of this complex. The property will be located with approximately 120 feet of frontage on Route 10 College Highway, diagonally across from Cumberland Farms. It is centrally located in town, and we feel it would be an ideal location for our public safety complex. Eugene Labrie will be in contact with the Select Board to work out the details. I will continue to recuse myself from any negotiations, as advised from the State Ethics Commission. Thank you for listening.
Eugene, thank you. That was an earful. Does this board entertain a motion to move forward with this?
I think we need to have Mr. Labrie come forward and discuss it before we can make a motion, because we don't know what the,
Well, the motion is to go into discussion with him.
I think we can, I'll make the motion that we go into discussion and find out the terms and conditions and everything else.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I did not see this material for tonight. Obviously, I lived part of it, so I know what went on.
Hmm.
The question becomes, if we're going to go into discussion with securing this land, are we gonna move forward with this in executive session with them? Are we gonna go in executive session as ourselves to discuss this first? Or are we going to ask the Public Safety Building Committee to go into the discussions? Because they have a better handle on the need of what they've been looking at for the last 10 years.
Some of that the safety complex is sitting here, myself included, in yourself. I mean, again, depending on what Mr. Labrie wants, I would personally prefer to have it in open session, discuss it. It's a donation, we're not paying money, there shouldn't be anything hidden from the public, and all these questions that came up over time that hopefully were brought out now won't happen. People will be there, ask questions, so as long as Mr. Labrie doesn't have an issue, I think public session is the best place.
There's a motion and a second. You want to move forward?
Do you have any comments on that part?
I think it should be discussed in open session.
I have no problem with that. I'm just make the formal vote to move in discussion, and then we'll ask him to come up to the podium and have a short discussion on this until we get a handle on it.
Is he ready to do it tonight? Is that, or were you thinking another meeting?
Another meeting.
Another meeting?
Sure.
So,
We'll schedule another meeting.
sure.
Okay.
And my guess is it's gonna be a big topic, so maybe we'll try to have just that on the agenda and everything pops up afterwards, but
That's fine, I mean,
I'm good.
all in favor?
For what? What are we voting on?
Basically, that we're gonna move forward with the discussions.
Just discussions.
Just discussion. Yeah, are we still an open opportunity to discuss something? Or are we gonna just defer it?
Do this, I guess the question is this, the donation of land, my understanding is we're gonna vote, and that'll be that discussion to be rescheduled for another meeting.
Okay.
If there's something else you wanna discuss, I'm open to discuss things.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the Labrie family. Obviously, I know it's been very, very difficult for Jim, not, very personally and otherwise. We're indebted to the Labrie family, and obviously, he's been a big part of the fire department for a long period of time. I didn't grow up in this town. I've been here 37 years, though, and I love this town. I'll be honest, I've been bothered by a lot of things in the process. The select board never voted about whether or not we were going to be able to buy the land ourselves. That never happened. And I'm bothered by that. I'm bothered that there was a donation, and I asked for evidence of communications. There wasn't any to be had, other than one letter dated
Exception.
December
You
28th.
did get everything.
December 28th, there was one letter from our attorney. So, anyway, I'm,
Yeah.
okay, I don't
No,
know if this is the
that's
time or the place. All I want to say is that I just feel like there's a lot of people that have spoken up against, or not really against, but in addition to this whole discussion about open space in this town, the master plan, and a lot of other things, and I want what's best for the town of Southampton. That's my mantra. And whatever that is, I'm voting for it. But I just hope we can clarify a lot of the steps that were bumpy along the way in this process, because I don't think, as much as I'm so grateful for Central Land, that was our #1 site. I mean, I appreciate all of this. I'm still hung up by some of the parts of the process, which I hope at some point can get ironed out one way or another.
Yeah, I guess I want to just say something. The process with that donation, we did it in executive session because obviously they didn't want to make it known. But there was a lot of communication between our attorney and the other attorney in Easthampton about this process. That's why we set up the escrow account, and there were several letters that went to that attorney that never got answered once the escrow account got set up. And they walked away from it. We don't know who it is. We've got some thoughts on that, but, those are just thoughts. So we did what we could to get that donation, because if there was a donation out there for 1.2 million, we wanted it, and we followed up on it. And Mr. Labrie was going to walk away from the purchase and sale and assign it to us. So I don't want anybody to think that we didn't try to get that, because we spent a lot of time with our attorney, and she spent a lot of time with the other attorney. Again, I don't want to name his name, but, because I don't know where he was in this process. But I don't know if there really was a donor or not, but the donor just walked away from communication once we had the escrow account set up. That's my understanding.
So does the board has made a motion to continue the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Now, the next question I have is, are we gonna have this as a joint meeting with the Public Safety Building Committee?
Yeah, I think so.
That
Okay,
makes sense.
I'm fine with it, I have to ask the questions so we have a direction.
Sure.
Okay, so we will set up another meeting and invite the Public Safety Building Committee, and it'll be an open session, and
Mhm.
bring the charts, the drawings, the diagrams, and we'll go from there.
Well, before we just say that and let it lop off, who's gonna be in charge? We're gonna have Ed contact the safety committee?
I'm chair of
Complex?
the safety committee. and I-
Okay,
I
so,
could, you know,
yeah, I just want to go sooner than later.
oh, I agree.
Yeah.
In fact, the safety committee's next scheduled meeting is a week from this Thursday.
Is it?
So we could actually have another selectmen's meeting then. That work? Dead silence in the group, okay.
I just
guess
want to
that's
check my
gonna work.
calendar.
Charlie, what did you say, a week from this Thursday?
So 24th, I'm
24, 26, something like that.
24th. What time? Is it 6?
I think it's 6. Pat won't be here.
I'm gonna be close. I'll be coming back.
You'll be close. I can't build this around your schedule.
I know that.
Okay, that's good for me, good for me.
Ed, do you want to post it as a joint meeting?
6 PM?
I believe it's 6, yeah, but let's do 6. Okay,
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
very good. I'm going to move into the rest of the meeting, and if you don't want to be here for that, this is an opportunity where I take a minute.
Is this going to empty the room on
This
us?
is going to empty the room on us. I figured it was easier to do it this way. Sent to you by email,
Uh-oh.
and I know you're not getting the email. Did you get an email from me a couple of days ago about this meeting? I did send it to you.
Oh, really? My light's on.
I will try to remember to call you,
They're green.
either one of us, but one of us, all right?
That
gonna get
doesn't
interesting.
come in on your smartphone? Pardon? Doesn't come in on your smartphone? I know you have the flip phone? I remember you said you had that, yes.
I got it.
Doing good. All right.
You want to turn the gain up on the center microphone, please? Thank you. It's a lot easier than sticking it in my face all the time, Tammy. It's probably my last night as chair. Might as well have a little fun with it. Okay, we're going to go back to our regular schedule. We have no appointments, no hearings reported to selectmen.
I have a report. Can you hear me okay? No? Just, Ryan?
Close that door.
They say they can't hear me okay. It doesn't feel like it's on. Okay.
Lights on.
So I just wanted to let you know that I went to an event on Saturday by DopaFit. DopaFit is a new business in town. It's in Red Rock Plaza, and it's for people with Parkinson's disease. And so this gentleman, Chad Moore, and his wife, Saba, started this organization, and it's fitness and education and art and support for people with Parkinson's disease. And I met people from all over the Pioneer Valley. It's a wonderful organization, and he started it because his mom passed away at age 55 from Parkinson's disease. So I just want to let folks know I went to the ribbon cutting event, and I hope you get a chance to support them, see them. And I also thought it would be a nice idea if we started a procedure as a board of sending a welcome letter from the select board to any new business in town. I had a talk with Ed about it. I thought it might be a nice gesture for us to do, and so I'm wondering if the board wants to go along with that.
Your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter of welcome to DopaFit at Red Rock
Second.
Plaza.
We have a second discussion?
No, I think it's a good idea, and I don't know if it's appropriate to have a person come here and have a new business and just let the town know what it is. Be a nice way to welcome the town.
I have no problem with that.
Maybe we can welcome,
Make that part of our letter. Just put it in
Yeah.
there, welcome them here.
yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Who's writing the letter? Ed? Ed. Ed's writing the letter? Good. Thank you,
That's why I
Ed.
ran it by him first.
Any other selectmen's reports?
No.
Okay, town administrator report?
Just have a few items. First of all, I'd like to let you know that today is National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and that's why the flags are at half-mast. This is in observance of those peace officers who have lost their lives or been disabled in the line of duty. In addition, I'd like to say thank you to our police chief and police officers for what they do to us, for us every day, and for what they face out there.
Yes.
The letters of offer for Glendale Road Improvement Phase 2 project for the easements have been sent to the property owners. We are scheduled at our June 19th meeting to do the takings and make those awards.
And that's still fitting the state schedule for rebuilding?
Yes.
Good.
The Select Board received a letter from the Southampton Water Department today expressing support in procuring the property on Glendale Road through the town's right of first refusal, contingent on securing the acquisition price through a grant or other such funding. They state in the letter that this property lies partially in the delineated Zone 2 recharge area for Southampton's Glendale wells. We also understand that the brooks, streams, and other water features that characterize this land may merit protection. And also, as in response to Selectman Martin's question at the last Select Board's meeting about the jukebox at JP Steakhouse with their entertainment license, just to let you know that they have relinquished the jukebox during their remodeling, so it's no longer there.
Okay, thank you.
Upcoming, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting is Tuesday, May 22nd, and June Select Board meeting dates are June 5th and 19th.
Just back up half a second. You all set? Tomorrow night, and correct me if I'm wrong at the time, we have a Chapter Lands Review Committee meeting, working title, if you will, of the new committee. Rini and I are on it to look at the chapter lands and whether we should acquire them and which ones we should acquire and the funding sources. So it's tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I believe. The agenda went up last Friday, so anybody that's interested should be there. It's going to be in here tomorrow night.
I think it's 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock? Yes? 7 o'clock, I stand corrected. But anybody's interested should come in. Thanks.
Any other selectmen's, no town, you're all set, Ed?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right, old business, right of first refusal, 111 Glendale Road. One of the things I was looking at was, I think we need to put a scope of work together for this committee. Something just generalized, but at least something that they could focus with.
The chapter lands?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely, we'll have to do that tomorrow night.
and we're gonna need a membership list.
Yep.
And then we have a question, and I have a question, because this is sort of an ad hoc committee that got formed by the Select Board. Is the Select Board actually gonna physically appoint these people to this committee?
Do we have to for an ad hoc committee?
I don't know.
I don't
Should look at
believe,
the bylaws.
yeah, I don't believe for an ad hoc we do,
Okay,
but we can check.
all right, anything else on that topic?
By we can check, I meant you, Ed, if you don't mind.
I know what the we means, yes.
It's good. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Why don't we get them a sign that says "we" on the front of it?
I am going to put that in front of my name tag.
Yeah.
And we might be looking to change the name of it to something more general, like open space, as opposed to just chapter.
April?
Thank you. April West, 54 Strong Road. Kathy, thank you for reading. That's not easy to do. Thank you. A couple of quick questions on the right of first refusal and the work that the group of citizens has been doing. In order to secure grant funding, we need to get an appraisal done. And we need to order that sooner than later, and the CPC doesn't meet until the first week in June. So I'm wondering if the Select Board has some funding that they could okay and then go and get reimbursed from the CPC, and I don't know how that works. But, and do you need to have more than one quote? Or is there like a maximum, I mean, can you work below a certain level of money, like say $1,000?
Hey, Charlie, you remember what Chapter 30B says on that? Is it just one appraisal?
Well, I mean, the first thing is the money. And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have no
No.
funding account that's set aside for doing that. What usually happens in these regards is we go to community preservation and draw money out of their operational budget if the need is there. I understand they're not meeting.
Right,
That's a problem.
it is a problem
Maybe you
because
can
we have
ask them to
deadlines,
Host
so.
an emergency meeting.
But also, we can start the process of talking to an appraiser, finding out roughly what the cost is, getting a quote, so when the meeting the
I
1st of
think it's
June.
just one quote that
Yeah.
can be used for every single
I think
grant
under 30B it
application
is
as well.
too. So we can have all that ready for the first meeting, be on the agenda, get it approved. We don't have to wait to get it approved to do the back end of it.
So do you want to put this on for the next selectmen's meeting? I don't think we'll get it done that fast.
Well, again, we want to, do you know, well, you were in the business,
I don't know a number.
commercial appraisers. yeah.
Right, I do know appraisers, but I don't know, like, what the cost of that
Would
would
this
be.
be a commercial appraisal in this case?
I don't think so. I think it's just gonna be a land appraisal.
I would think it's just a
Yeah.
land appraisal, I believe.
I'll find out.
I'm gonna guess you're gonna be in the $3,500 range. I mean, that's just a
Yeah.
I was
guess.
guessing under 1,000,
How much?
No.
under
You
1,000.
think so?
We tried to get another piece of property in town appraised, and it's commercial, and the quotes I was getting were 6,000-7,000 for commercial, because they do more than just,
Well, I worked on the Greenway Committee, so I know what the cost of that was. This is an entirely different animal.
Okay,
So-
maybe, that'd be great if that's the case.
if that's the
Yeah.
case, yeah.
Ed, do you want to try to help them with that? We'll see where we go.
I will tackle that.
Okay.
Now, another question, when it went up for sale, obviously, the Realtor put an appraised value on it. Do they go through comps, or is this just basically the Realtor feels it's worth X? Could be anything.
I'm not gonna guess.
Okay, but the norm isn't necessarily the norm, it could be one of many ways for an appraisal, when
I
you.
am not gonna guess.
Okay, I think I got the gist of it.
Well, I would guess you couldn't use that anyway. It's gonna have to be an appraisal done for the town.
Right.
For the grant.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Our meeting right now was just planned last week, and the intention was primarily to go through the personnel bylaws. Is there any reason why we can't request the Community Preservation Committee to meet prior to June?
I don't see a reason.
There's
I
no
don't see
reason.
why you can ask.
I get,
Request that happen?
I guess maybe after your meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, because the ad hoc committee could turn around and go back to that's the whole reason of having that committee.
Yeah,
So
Right.
it's not one individual doing one thing, another individual doing another.
Right.
You need to,
but I think we need to get some sort of estimate from an appraiser, because we don't want to go to the CPC and say we want some money between 1,000
Oh,
and
right.
8,000.
Right,
we
yeah.
don't think anything, I'll tell you right now.
That's what I'm saying, so we've got to get some kind of estimate, so if Ed can look into that, I think that'd be great. Thanks. And then hopefully we can get them to meet earlier.
And the other question that I had is, does anyone know when the KP Law contract expires with the town as town council?
I believe we have a contract, do we?
Right, I don't think we have a contract,
Yeah,
not as far as I know.
yeah.
You don't have a
I
contract?
think it's a pay-as-you-go agreement.
Right.
Okay. Because there are local attorneys who are specialists in Chapter 61 that would be very helpful.
Well, just because we use KP Law as a generalist,
Right.
Mhm.
we can use specialized attorneys for specialized situations.
Correct.
You're not locked into using KP Law just for everything.
Good. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Barbara LaFlamme, 20 Cook Road. It is my understanding that the Wayne family, in talking with their attorney, Amanda Kemp, Zadonis Kemp, that they have indicated a willingness to extend the opportunity for the town to exercise its right of first refusal. Have you gotten that indication?
They haven't brought it directly to this board, but they made it publicly known at the community preservation meeting.
Okay, I guess my request for the select board would be to request in the form of a letter, a 6-month extension for offering the town the right of first refusal, simply because many of the deadlines for the grants will not come up until the fall. And because we don't have a pool of money from which to draw from, we will need to do extensive fundraising to raise the kind of money that will be required for this particular project. So a 6-month extension would not be unreasonable.
And that's because of what we heard out in the community. That's one of the reasons we have this on the agenda tonight, to discuss that.
But the question comes up that if we send a letter asking for a 6-month extension, it implies that we are exercising our right of first refusal.
No, it doesn't. It means that you're exploring
Yeah.
the town's right of first refusal.
It depends on how, what,
The letter is written.
how letter's written, but also what we're asking for the extension on, the 120 days or the 90 days after that. And we're asking for it on the 120 days, which is just our research period, if you will.
Right.
And that's what you're referring to,
Yes, to extend it to 6 months.
right, from 120 to 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
May I suggest that an ad hoc committee draft this letter to get it to the board?
I don't know if that's
Well, you have
that
to appoint the
difficult.
committee first.
Yeah. Well, the committee is tomorrow.
Well, there's no official meeting yet because they have to,
Well, there's an official first meeting, it's posted, you know, we gave it a quick title, and we're meeting tomorrow. We'll figure out what the membership is, who's the chair, vice chair, and all, and have a
Okay.
scope of work and everything. So we'll have that hopefully done at the first meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't see an issue of waiting until after tomorrow's meeting. As I think about that, when are we meeting next? Next
on the
Tuesday.
22nd, so we could probably take it up then and send it out or ask them to meet us and
So why don't we,
discuss this.
tomorrow, since we're there, why don't we put that on the agenda? Because I made the agenda up where it's general enough. I think we can just put that in there. They'll come back at next meeting with some wording and recommendation?
Okay.
Can I just ask Ed, if are there any downsides or anything that we should be aware of relative to the extension or requesting an extension in terms of anything? Taxes, any liabilities on the part of the town that you're aware of?
Well, obviously, the longer the town extends it, the longer the Waynes are going to be responsible for the taxes on it. So, you know, does that play into the, I'll have to go back and look and see if there was any piece in the purchase and sale that would make an adjustment for that, but it's a possibility.
Else on this topic?
Nope.
I have also one other request. There was a letter that was read earlier that because it was publicly read, I believe it is now a public document, and I would like a copy of the entire letter that was read, please. Thank you.
I don't know if the document is public because,
Correspondence, call it what you want.
I mean, what's on the film is, but it wasn't submitted to us. It was somebody's verbal,
But once it's read into your minutes, it becomes public.
oh, yeah. So we'd have to get it from the minutes. But if you were asking for the actual document, I don't think that we can do that.
No, that's an original, but
Yeah.
I believe that the public is entitled to a copy of that
Yeah.
correspondence.
Yeah, I agree.
Somebody left a pen. Tamara Lunas, 298 College Highway. Ed, or can you clarify? So now that the Waynes own this land, or any land in town, they're paying taxes on it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so even I have land, I'm paying taxes, you guys have land, you're paying taxes. When the town buys these pieces of land, have we lost that
Yes.
tax revenue?
Yes.
Remember, it's in chapter land, so the tax revenue is right now.
So if you sell it to a builder and they build 8 houses, you're gonna get a hell of a lot more taxes in?
One way of putting it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
This is really not open time for the public. I'm gonna let you, but I'm just,
Okay, well, it's just relative to
I know,
old
I know,
business.
I'm just,
I just wanted to know if the letters that were discussed at the last meeting on Fulmer Road and College Highway.
No, the members of the Board of Selectmen and myself are working out what we'd like in those.
Okay.
okay. Think it's easy? Next, joint meeting with Personnel Policy and Procedure Board on Southampton's Personnel Bylaw Review and Discussion. Now, and correct me because I know I'm not gonna catch all of this. My understanding was that back in August of 2016, the Board of Selectmen adopted all the policies except for 13. 13 had to do with sick leave, basically.
Extended disability.
Okay, extended disability. Art, are you speaking for the Personnel Board?
Yes, I am. Art Lawrence, 113 Cricket Ledge Road. We don't have a quorum tonight, primarily because the meeting got pushed up and we couldn't get everybody here. What happened, Charlie, back in those days, 2016, we were talking about having the town spend, I think it turned out, Jim could confirm this, I think it was like $10,000 for a long-term disability insurance program. We thought at the time it was a good idea because being self-insured, which we are to this day, can lead to some major issues. We always use the example of a bunch of the highway guys going out hunting and they drive across a pond, a frozen pond, and it sinks, and we put 4 or 5 in the hospital. That would be a tremendous burden on the town because we're talking about 75%, I believe it's 75% of their pay for 6 months.
Yeah.
So when it came, once we found out how much it was going to cost the town, like I say, in the neighborhood of $10,000, we decided or the board decided to go back to the old method we had, which we put in. Because we went back to the old method, we had to go back to the old sick time. So those are the 2 areas that the board decided they wanted to include. Heather Budravich at the time then basically cut and paste and put it in the document, and it's been utilized ever since. So what I'm trying to do is get this signed off. I've cleaned up the document. I think it's in much better shape. I'd like to put this into a employee handbook and be done with this thing. This has been a long time and 2 years of work and then 2 years of trying to get a signature. So that's my comments.
I'll make a motion that we accept the personnel bylaws document in its entirety. I believe the only thing that needs to change is a section that wasn't approved by town meeting relative to the finance committee.
I'll second it.
I want to modify that motion. 1, this was not accepted at town meeting. 2, it's accepted by the select board. 3, if the motion is to accept section 13 as it was in its original, that would be where I would go with the motion.
Now, the point you're bringing up, Charlie, I think, again, we're not trying to do anything with the bylaw. The bylaw has not changed since, I don't know, 1822, whenever it was put in. So the only thing the bylaw does is basically make a personnel board and whatever is around that. The rules and regulations is totally separate, as far as I know. Again, I'm an engineer, not a lawyer. And we had public meetings on that, and that's how we presented it to basically the employees of the town. So that's what I'm asking for, not the bylaw. I'm asking just for the rules and regulations and section, what you're calling section 13, what I'm calling the extended disability and the sick time are the two areas that I would like. And once, if you approve that, then we can sign this document. Again, just the rules and regulations.
Yeah, that's
Nothing
what
to
your
do with the
motion is.
bylaw.
All right, I'll revise the motion then. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Town of Southampton personnel rules and regulations.
But they already have been. All we're approving now is the extended disability.
So
and
just the
sick leave.
Just those
13, so you want to stick
two.
with the 2016 date for the whole document, or you want us to just reapprove the document as it exists?
Whatever you'd like. I
I'm
just want to,
comfortable,
I
and
just
I've read
want to get
it
a
through,
signature on it.
approving the entire document as it exists.
Okay.
So update the date of approval to today.
Okay,
I'm going to second it for the conversation. So that takes care of the two issues.
yes,
It's just wrapping everything around them.
yeah. Everything else is,
Already
stay the
set.
same, except for some of the typos that, that Rini found that we took care of. And again, this is important because, you know, if we change policy, then we have to go back and have public meetings and so on and so forth.
Now, I have just a quick question. Who administers this? Is this administered by this document by the PQB, or is it by the town administrator? Because in the contract we have with Ed, he's listed as the administrator, and in this document, it's the PQB. So we just might want to iron that problem out.
Well, I think the board has the, sort of the fiduciary responsibility for it, and now whether that's going to change, then you're going to have to change a bylaw, I would think.
Yeah, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying we probably should just make that.
Right.
I think we can adopt this as it is and visit the other question down the road. My concern is, did our clerk get the motion?
I don't know. You want to approve the
Okay.
entire Southampton personnel bylaw document as it is.
But in terms of enforcing it, I would imagine that anybody's direct supervisor would be the enforcer of personnel bylaws. So
That'd
if
be
it's
the
the fire
starting.
department, it would be Chief Workman and so forth. So
Yeah, and
this is adopted by
right.
the town as
Right.
personnel policies, but the enforcement is whoever their supervisor is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Department
It
heads.
was listed as the administrator of the document. Maybe I read it wrong.
Okay.
I mean, it's a select board's responsibility and delegated down to the town administrator and department heads, like you're saying.
Yeah, it says right on, I think it's on page 17. Yeah, it's actually on page 16. It says the personal policy procedures shall be responsible for the administration of the bylaw and the rules and regulations and so on. And then if you go to Ed's contract, it says that the town administrator
Yeah.
will. I'm just saying there's a conflict there. We should
Well,
eventually address that.
I'm
that's all.
looking at, if we adopt this now, everybody would, extended disability, sick leave, everything else is clear, and the administration of this, we can work it out in-house.
Yeah, I don't think we want to hold it up just
It's
for
fine.
that.
I mean, I'm
but
just
it's-
pointing
It's
it
a
out.
point well taken, yeah, we've got to clear it up, just, we don't want to hold this up.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank
Art,
you,
2
Art.
years.
Well,
Can I just
oh,
also say that I know that this is a very lengthy
Forgot about that.
document.
Yeah.
Can we save some paper and send it to employees? I know that the Personal Policies and Procedure Board wanted it sent out, now that it's complete, to employees. Can we just do it electronically? And it also, our bylaws says that one copy ends up in the town clerk office, one gets posted in a central location. But to print them all to all town employees seems like not a good idea. So if we can send electronic copies.
Do we have part of our website inside, access only?
Like an intranet?
Yeah, intranet, where only town employees? So if we post this on our website, everybody sees it?
Ed's got a distribution list, email distribution list.
Yeah. I just wonder if we could post it electronically somewhere so anybody can just link to it.
Well, I can certainly put on the Z drive, which we have other documents,
Yeah.
PCFs, things of that nature.
So anybody can reach that internal?
Anybody can-
That'd be a great place to put it, too.
I have a quick question for Art. Just going back, when Charlie mentioned that it was voted on August 16th, or August in 2016.
Yeah.
I have a copy of that here. The document we just voted on was last amended June 2017. Do you have those changes available? What was changed from the 16th to the 17th?
There was just formatting changes, that's all.
It was just formatting
Yeah.
changes, so there were no
No,
significant
no
changes to the
changes.
policy at all?
Again, we would have had to have a public meeting.
Okay, that's all I was
Yep.
curious, if it was the same document and it's just a format.
Next item on the agenda is the joint meeting with the Bylaw Review Advisory Committee to review the recommendations of the bylaws. I am amazed the amount of work they've done on this. I printed it out with all the comments in that. I myself took some time and went through some things that I had a little bit of concerns with. I'm open as to how the select board wants to proceed with this. It's too large to do in one evening.
Yeah.
We're gonna really need to do it in pieces. My thought was taking and giving our suggestions on, I don't know, let's say the first 10 pages or 5 pages to the committee by way of having us review it electronically and giving it to Ed, so we don't violate the open meeting law, and then give it to that committee, and then when we come in for a meeting, we can review that.
I think they did a phenomenal job. I am like completely impressed. I've found almost no content questions, but there's just some like edits and questions. And for example, bylaw is bylaw and then by-law. There's, like the consistency of the document. I think there's a lot of inconsistencies. But I have to say that content-wise, it's like phenomenal. So thank you very much.
I can address some of your questions. Okay. Francine Tishman, Glendale Road. I'm the only representative of the bylaw committee, and as you know, I had a break, so my term hasn't been as long as Virginia A. Hart's, and certainly Velda and Janine, and no one else is here but me. But so I'll try to address some of the questions. Yes, the intention in us giving it to you, and then you're feeding whatever corrections you have back to someone, and now we know it's Ed, to give us one complete document that you've all been through will work for us.
Okay.
At the last meeting, we talked about the fact that all those tracking changes were in the margins. They won't appear on the document that it goes to the town. What will go to the town are cross-outs and then some other probably italicized or some kind of a font difference to show the difference between the new language and the old language that we're proposing. One of the challenges that we are still continuing to face, I know you look at it, it's a very comprehensive document, but there's still lots of pieces missing. We're still waiting to hear from other committees. We sent them the bylaws that pertain to them originally. We're not changing them unless obviously we have input from them. So we're still waiting to hear. So this document is even much larger than the one that you're looking at. And I agree with you, doing it piece by piece and getting it to us in a manageable way that we can deal with it. I mean, it's manageable for you to deal with it that way. It's manageable for us to deal with it that way as well. So I don't know if you say basically no comments.
The only thing that I saw, other than some typos and some inconsistencies around the way words are reflected, is the recent change in the Conservation Commission, when the fees are listed. That's a new change that I wouldn't have expected to be in this particular draft, but that's the only thing that I noticed in the entire 60 to 70 page document.
Okay.
I got 5 bullet points.
Okay.
We're going to send it to Ed, is that the plan?
And he's going to, right,
And then the committee will take it back, okay.
that works. Okay.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll take the first 5 pages or 10 pages and get back to it.
Well, let's take a number.
I'll take a number, pick a number.
I'm just sending the whole thing, I've already,
You gonna do the whole thing?
I've already gone through it.
I did the whole thing too, but I
Yeah.
think we're overachievers.
Well, I'm not gonna just send half of it, I'll just send it. We can only do 10 pages at a time, I'm okay with that.
I know.
Let's just do 10, because like I said, there's not much in there. I didn't worry about the punctuation because that's not my strong point, but
Yeah, no, I can live with that one too. All right, so we'll do it in its entirety and try to get it back to them as soon as possible.
well, if we do it in its entirety, it's gonna go to the committee in its entirety, and I don't know if they want that.
Well, I don't know, I mean, in my case, it's like 5 bullet points, and that's
Oh,
the whole
okay.
document.
So you're okay. Okay.
That's, yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next topic then.
Yep.
All right? Next topic is personnel change form, there's none. Is there any other business that has to be before this board before next week? Not aware of any. No licenses. Here's the warrants. P 18-28, $279,048.54. PD 18-28, $50,115.26. W 18-29, $47,015.88. W 18-29A, $1,964.50. W 18-45, $1,274,741.93. Those are the warrants that were signed and approved. We have minutes to be approved. April 4th this year, April 10th this year, April 17th this year. Has the board had time to review those minutes?
Yes.
Do we see any changes?
I saw nothing.
I just want to go back to my notes to make sure, but I don't remember anything either.
Do you have anything? What was that? Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
4th, 10th, 17th.
Let me see if I got any notes.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes on those.
I'll make the motion. We approve April 4th, 10th, and 17, 2018 minutes.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. Open time for the public. Going once, going twice,
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
it's gone. Select Board's next meeting is May 22nd, 2018, which is next week. Then after that's June 5th, 2018, then June 19th, 2018. There are no executive sessions. I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's 3 to 4.
3 to 1.
3 to 1. Meeting's adjourned.